What's up guys, it's Roger, and welcome back to Trials of a Solo getting queued up against 3 stacks because Bungie matchmaking works. Now, that out of the way, we do have Javelin this week, and hey, that's a great map. Problem is, it's the same stinky meta as the past 2.5 years with the same cheesers and cheaters as every other weekend. But if you can get through all that, then you might be able to have some fun this weekend. Probably not me, but maybe you. And that's pretty exciting. And maybe you want to have fun with this build right here, so why don't we talk about it a little bit? Figured we'd start on the Void Walker here on the actual subclass. There's a few things that got buffed here I showed you on the first week of Trials, but I'll rehash it all just a little bit for you here in case you missed that video. So essentially, we got better tracking on our pocket singularity, which is very nice, and people can't just like slide through a pocket singularity anymore. At least that's what Bungie claims. I haven't really seen the situation happen enough to where people might be still doing it. I'm not sure, but hopefully it does work. They honestly kind of nerfed this thing as well because now it tracks way too hard on targets that are around a wall, so you can't really wrap it around walls like you used to be able to. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's Bungie's motto, right? Over here though, Feed the Void did get better because overall Devour got nerfed on every subclass, but Feed the Void got better. So usually Devour is just going to give you 100 HP back, but when you use Feed the Void now, it gives you that full heal, which is very, very nice. We love to see that, as well as it does give us some extra grenade energy back now that it didn't used to give us. On top of that, the rest of the build here is pretty simple. I have on a Nova Bomb, which you're going to want on a map like this because there's going to be a lot of bubble and Well of Radiance abuse. There's going to be a Healing Rift here, Blink of course, and then we have an Axion Bolt right there. Our other aspect is going to be Child of the Old Gods, which we call on my channel Clarence. Clarence is my son from the Void. You put a rep down, he goes out, he sucks cheeks, he sucks toes. Anything he can get his grubby little mouth on, he will start sucking on. He'll do some damage, weaken the enemies, a lot of good stuff for you there. Creates a lot of zone denials, what we really like from Clarence. For our fragments, it's the 4 that I usually run because these are the best Void fragments. If you have other opinions, that's completely fine, but these are my favorites, and I have a lot of goddamn playtime on this, probably more than most people in the world. Unfortunately, I wish, it's kind of making me sad at this point. But the point is, I know what fragments are good. Number 1 right here, Echo of Dilation, my favorite fragment in the entire game, because this gives us so much extra information off of our radar, which high tier players are going to be able to use very, very effectively. Down here we have Echo of Persistence. It's going to make the initial proc of your Devour, which as we said is even better now, go from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. 5 extra seconds of Devour is a very big thing. Do not sleep on that. If you're not running this fragment, then you're wasting your fragment slots. Over here we have Echo of Expulsion. This is one that you can sub out. What this is going to do on a pocket singularity or a grenade kill, I don't think it procs on Clarence, but on those 2 kills, it will do a secondary explosion, so if people are holding hands, this can really wipe out a team pretty easily. If you don't want to run this, you can go something like Leeching, or Provision, or Echo of Exchange, anything like that. There's some other good options in there, but you don't have to run this one. That being said, this one you do need to run, especially if you're doing a shotgun build like I'm showing you today, because when you get close in combat like this, you're gonna want Echo of Vigilance. It'll save your cheeks more than you know. You're gonna break your shields, you're gonna win a fight with somebody because you're an absolute Chad gamer, no beta males around here. You got that absolute testosterone through the roof, steroids in the booty cheek every single day, lifting 600 pounds bench, baby. Ooh, let's go. Giving the enemies little Judy chops in the back of the neck, knocking them down, and Echo of Vigilance is gonna help you do that with a little bit of an extra Void overshield. Oh baby, you better believe that I busted one of the fattest nuts in mankind's history when Retrofuturist returned to the game. You can see I have over 2,000 kills on this one, and this is an older model. It's absolutely amazing. You can still get Quick Draw Snapshot, and that's what I'm looking for on a new version. Unfortunately, from like the 50 that I've pulled out of Shack so far, all of them have sucked, but I am looking for an even better roll than this that has like better range stat, but this thing kicks some booty cheeks. Up here we've got Kept Confidence, of course a hand cannon that everybody in the game loves. I mean, this is my favorite PvP hand cannon I would say at the moment, but if you don't want to use this, because while I did use this in like the first half of the gameplay today, I did switch over to the different times pulse rifle just because I wanted a little bit of extra range and a faster shooting of my bullets because the game was getting a little bit laggy, which of course it has been for a long time now, and when my game gets laggy, I like these rapid fire pulses because they can put so many bullets down lane so quickly that they're quite likely even in a laggy match to get the kills. Mods are the same stuff that I usually run. We have our heavy-handed, we have our firepower, we have our Reaper, we have our 3 ways with Absolution, our Innervation, and our Orbs of Restoration. I will say pause at any point if you want to read any of these mods more in depth, but we get those Orbs of Power, we pick them up with these mods here, and that will give us the bonuses from those Orbs of Power. I have my Unflinching and my targeting up here for these strand weapons that I'm going to be using today, and then 2 Bomber mods, which of course now 2 Bomber mods after they were nerfed gives us 17% of our grenade energy back every time we use our Rift. Pretty simple stuff all in all there. I hope you guys do enjoy the gameplay today. If you do at any point, leave me a like or subscribe. I'd very much appreciate that. If you have any questions about the build, please feel free to leave those in the comment section or join the Blankfield Discord server. I'm going to have that linked in the top right and in the description. Now, all that being said, I really do appreciate you guys watching, and I think we're ready to get in this gameplay. So without further ado, let's go ahead and blink on into it. Starting off here, I have my very first round of the day on my Blink Warlock, and I gotta say, it started off fine. I got off my Blink Hunter, which, you know, if you want to see that video, I'll have it linked on the end screen next, you can go ahead and watch it. Had a very fun Bombardiers build because they actually got buffed here at the beginning of this season. But when I got on my Warlock, I started noticing things were much more laggy already. I think it hit the part of the night, because it was like, maybe like 1 a.m. by this point when I started getting gameplay for my Warlock here. I think most of the cheaters started getting online, and there's a lot of cheaters, net limiters, stuff like that in D2, especially on PC, but I know there's some goofy people on console too, which might sound surprising, but, you know, I've been told some horror stories. Now, that being said, I did have a decent enough time, you know. It was stressful to actually get the clips because people were just, you know, being stinky little frickin' losers, but besides that, I was playing well, so that made it a little better. And my teammates, and that's another thing, like, they were very solid when I was playing on my Hunter. I was getting a lot of solid teammates, which of course makes it easier, but on my Warlock, that wasn't happening as much. Let's talk about that pocket singularity right there. You see how that thing flew into the wall? The angle that I threw it at, before the changes, it would have been able to wrap around that corner and hit the guy behind it. I need to start throwing it farther to the side of the corners of those walls, or it's going to keep running into them because the tracking just goes way too hard now. And that's what I don't like. I don't understand why they touched that part of pocket singularity. This is a melee that we're talking about. Love smoke bombs, by the way. That's so much fun right there. This is a melee we're talking about that has perhaps and most likely the strongest tracking of any melee in the entire game. But obviously it had some issues, like not being able to kill people who were sliding. That gets fixed, but then they up this actual tracking, velocity, stuff like that too. That doesn't make sense to me. It's not something it needed, and in fact that's throwing off people's muscle memories even more. And that's what I kind of say when I'm saying like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. In fact, I'm sure we could sit here and say 2 steps back and 1 step forward. That's what it feels like a lot of the time, because they just go and they touch these things that don't need to be touched. And it's something I've never understood. Why can't you just leave the things that are functioning alone? They just go and break things for no reason, while at the same time being like, yeah, but we slapped the shiny new coat of paint on it. Cool. You know, I can take out a 70-year-old penis and slap a shiny new condom on it. Guess what? It's still a nasty old wrinkly dinkly. Nobody wants to touch that thing, even if there's a nice little rubber on it. Trojan, you know, whatever brand it might be. My point is, it doesn't change what's under it. And they're just going in and slapping these new coats of paint on things that are still old little shrinky dinks. And it's like, Bungie, you gotta address the actual problems and then just leave the stuff that actually works still. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's a saying for a reason, because that's what you do with things in life. This round is a good example of an absolute dumb teammate. Is it such a bad idea that he went to res or cap the point here? Not necessarily. I mean, he had a res on him, right? But then he couldn't even get that kill. He didn't play his radar at all. He didn't follow me up. I got a pick. I got a super out of him. In fact, I got 2 picks. All he had to do was follow me up. We could have taken out the last guy together. He could have shot the tether while I was out there to come and help me or anything. Just literally anything. But he didn't. Instead, he sat in a circle. And that's something I really hate about the circles. They're nice on something like Javelin because it forces people to actually play every part of the map. Beforehand, when we didn't have zone capture on Javelin Trials, for the most part, people would just play the inside of the map. Every now and again, you would get some long lane Larrys, and you could go outside and snipe at them, use some pulses, whatever it might have been. But for the most part, 140s, which are still very good on Javelin Trials, like you'll see this gameplay right here, you know, you couldn't really use those pulses as effectively, right? It was mostly just ruled by the 140s, and they're still good. But the zones actually force you to play in different parts of the map. Oh, I had to show you this clip because it's just so much fun, you know? I get frozen once, and then it's like, okay, well, hey, let's maybe we get another pick here. No, go forward, jump, you know, I'm literally jumping entirely midair, you know? I could have fucking dunked over Shaquille O'Neal, but somehow an icicle touched my foot and froze me colder than the tundra. Okay, sure, Bungie, let's go with that. You know what we should do? We should buff stasis. Did you ever think about that? You know what's funny? I don't even know how long ago it was. I made this video a while ago when stasis was first getting like its big nerfs, right? And I was saying a thing that I still say quite often today about a lot of things on Destiny, which is one of my funniest things that I laugh at with the Destiny community. When anything in this game has the word nerf applied to it at all, the Destiny community at large shits their low britches. I'm talking a class 2 stinker straight in their pantaloons. They freak out. Look at Dire Ahamkara, you know, the trip mines, the double trip mine gloves. Those things get the word nerf around them and people dropped them like a hot bag of ass. And their usage rate went to the frickin' floor, which is insane because guess what? That exotic is still disgustingly good. And watch, I don't know, maybe 2-3 months from now, especially since we're in this super long extended season, people are going to realize that. They're going to be like, oh wait, that exotic is still really solid. It's still super effective. And for the most part, probably still overpowered because Bungie doesn't actually tune things correctly. And then people are going to start using it again. And that's like the life cycle of things in this game. It's just like, Bungie says the word nerf, the D2 community freaks out. It's not even nerfed that bad, but people just drop it anyways. And it's like, why do you people do this? And that was exactly what I saw with Stasis back in the day. It didn't get that hard of nerfs. And then people just dropped it, you know, and the usage rate went down pretty quickly. And look at this guy. I mean, he get kind of trashed on because my teammates ran him around like a freaking moron he was. But Stasis has never been bad, and it never could be bad. With something like freeze as a status effect, which is the strongest negative status effect in the entire game. Why is it so strong? Because you literally can't play anymore once it's applied to you. What's your counter for stasis? What do you do? Once you're frozen, how do you counter it? You know, I'll give you a second. You go ahead, you think. Oh, do you have your answer? Did you say nothing, Roger? There's nothing I can do, Puffer Papa. Yes, you are correct, my Puffer child. There is nothing you can do. Because once you're encased in a block of ice like some disgusting Chrono-Magnon that was stuck there from the Ice Age, you're done. You're donezo, kid. You're finished. You're finito. There's nothing you can do anymore. You have no recourse. Ooh, this round was really nice, by the way. These guys were pissing me off. They were playing like such little scumbags. So I went in. This is when I switched to my different times pulse rifle, and I just smacked their ass by myself, basically. My teammates, I was like, please just help me a little bit. And they did, and then I went team chat. I was like, there you go. That little bit, that's all I needed from you guys to get that dub. So I was happy I put my bags all over those guys. They deserved it. But yeah, and then look what we see now. Stasis gets a buff because the usage rates were so low, which is another funny thing about Bungie. You know, they're like, we don't balance things just off usage rates. But then, even though something is still extremely solid, and they know it's extremely solid, they'll see usage rates are down, and they want people to play it, so then they buff it. And again, it's kind of talking about Pocket Simulator, the same thing, where it's like, they probably saw people weren't using it that much, even though we have no other options, because, you know, it's just not that great. They hear people complaining about it a lot, so they're like, well, let's go ahead and let's buff it, and then let's buff it in ways that it doesn't need. And that's what they do with Stasis. Shatter Dive is back now, to a certain degree, not its former glory, but you can actually Shatter Dive pretty effectively now and get some big chunkin' kills. It's really frustrating. Everyone hated that meta. If you guys played in complete, like, top of the line Shatter Dive meta, then you have as much PTSD as I do right now. Every time I've been Shatter Dived in the past couple weeks, I swear to God I flash back to Nom. Like, I'm not even kidding you. I have shell shock from the Shatter Dive noise going off in my sweet bus. It's insane. But it's stronger now again. They gotta stop doing stuff like that. I don't know who makes those calls. It's just insane to me. But my entire point, to be really humble, is just saying, you know, of course I was right. You know, back when I made that video. No, I'm kidding. But it is what I was saying a long time ago. And I got a lot of, like, hate for that video. People were like, no, it's not. It's not that strong anymore. And it was like, if you can't see why something like freeze as a status effect should never exist in a movement shooter, keyword being movement. When you say movement shooter, guess what the emphasis of the shooter is going to be on? Movement. And you could argue this game isn't a movement shooter, but look at all the hunter dodges, the blinks, the floats that we have, and any kind of, like, you know, hunter dodge ability, stuff like that in between backwards, whatever you want to say in there. There's a lot of movement in this game. There's a lot of verticality in this game. Not as much as something like the finals, if you're playing that, which, by the way, I made some finals videos, go check those out. But we all know it's a big part of this game. And when you have something that can stop you from moving at all, that's a big problem. Hence why we have something like Suspend that's overpowered right now. But let's take it an extra step further. Let's say not only can it stop you from moving completely, but it can stop you from shooting completely. Let's take it a step further. Let's say it can stop you from using abilities completely. Okay, so what are you left with at that point? What can you do now that you're frozen? Nothing. You can't move, you can't shoot, you can't use your abilities. Those are the three things you can do to fight your enemies. So when you can't do anything, then you have no counter. And when something has no counter in a game, then it's inherently broken. That's always been my point with stasis freeze. I've never understood how people can actually deny that, except for I kind of can understand it. Because the thing with people denying broken things in games, a lot of the time comes down to the fact that they use those broken things, and they don't want to feel bad about themselves or feel like they're a lower skilled player. So instead of accepting that fact, they go out of their way to say, it's not broken, because if it was broken, then I wouldn't be as good at the game. I'd have to admit that I'm not as good because I'm using this crutch. And people don't want to do that when it comes to video games. They want to say that everything they're doing is up to their skill. And I understand that. Nobody wants to admit that they're using some kind of crutch. But I have friends, I have people in my community, and I always admire someone who can sit there and say, yeah, I'm using double cold snap nades just so I can freeze somebody and then walking up with a sniper so I can get a free headshot. If they can use that playstyle, you know, I don't want to touch them with a 10-foot snot rag. But if they can look me in my pretty little eyes, they're blue by the way, very nice, you'd like them, and say, yeah, I'm using this and I know it's cheesy. I know that I'm getting a free snipe because my enemy can't move, but I'm having fun. I can respect that. I can actually put some respect on their name because they're owning up to it. And that's what I wish I was seeing more of in the D2 community. For me, what I enjoy doing is playing with my blink, playing with fun guns like my retro futurist here, my different times, hitting my shots, hitting some nice team shots when I'm actually queued up with people, stuff like that, using my game sense to win, using my radar to actually check where enemies are and like do good pushes like this, you know? That's what's fun to me, and then getting the dubs based off all those things put together, that's fun to me. Like in that play right there, I messed up on the third guy, I missed my shotgun shot, that's why I waved my head to this guy, I was like, oh, I missed that. But it happens, and I can admit that that was my own fault. I missed the shot, but it was still a hot play. It still came out clutch. But yeah, this is going to be the last play though, so you can see these laggy guys that made me want to throw my own eyeballs in the sink. And as you watch that, I can say thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day, Guardians.